Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Joanna speaking, and it's the 31st of October. And I would like to tell you about something that happened, something like 2 months ago, which is my trip to the United States. It wasn't my first trip, to the United States, but I have visited new places there this time. So what places I visited, why I actually decided to go to the United States, to the very particular state, not something different. What were the two places that we visited again after our 2018 visit? And what was the biggest highlight for me personally of this entire trip? This is going to be in today's podcast. And then at the very end, I will still provide you with some useful and I think interesting idioms and collocations regarding the topic of today's podcast. So let's go. So this trip to the United States was actually an idea that came to me about 2 years ago. And what was the spark? What triggered the entire idea? A TV series called Yellowstone. Some of you might have seen it. It takes place in Montana. And Montana was indeed the point on the map, place that we really, really wanted to visit. And everything else that we planned was around Montana. So we basically flew to Las Vegas, and then we went up north to Montana through locations like Yellowstone National Park, Grand Teton National Park, and so on. And then we went back to the south, but through a different route, through different states this time, like, for example, South Dakota and Montana. That's exactly why we decided to go. That's the series, the scenic views. And of course, as I mentioned, Montana was just one of the places on our list. We also wanted to visit Yellowstone National Park and Grand Teton National Park, both absolutely stunning. We also revisited two places we had been to before. One of them was Zion National Park. We first went there back in 2018, but we didn't do the famous Zion Narrows Trail. This trail literally goes through a river. The name of the river is Virgin River. You really literally have to walk in the water the whole way. Now, back in 2018, we weren't prepared for that. I mean, we didn't have the right clothes, shoes, equipment, gear. This time, we came prepared. We came ready. We had the walking sticks, the neoprene socks, super important because the river was freezing cold, and proper shoes. Because the stones under the water on the bottom of the river were very slick, really, really slippery. We even had dry clothes and shoes to change into afterwards because the water was sometimes up to our waist. So when we left the river, we really, really were wet, simply. And it was amazing. I mean, the views were breathtaking. The whole experience felt very unique. We walked about 7 kilometers one way, then 10 back. So roughly 14 kilometers in total. The further we went, the fewer people we met. And I think that was the best part of this trail, to be honest. The second place we revisited when it comes to the 2018 trip was Monument Valley. And it is located in Indian Reserve in Arizona. And we stayed at a hotel called The View. And honestly, they couldn't have picked a better name. They couldn't. We woke up before sunrise to see it rising above the valley. And I swear, it was beyond words. Absolute silence. I mean, complete calm. Golden light slowly touching the rocks. If you Google Monument Valley sunrise, or if you Google Monument Valley National Park, you will see what I mean. It was truly beyond words. And after that, while everyone else went for breakfast, we decided to drive around the valley. Most people do this as a part of a paid jeep tour of kind of an excursion, but we luckily had our own 4x4 car, so we could go ourselves. We didn't need any extra help or support. It was around 6:30 in the morning, and there was literally no one else there. I mean, in the valley, in the national park, in this Indian reserve, not a single person. Even the local vendors hadn't opened yet, and it was magical, raw, quiet, sometimes unreal. If you Google it, you will really, really know what I mean. And then came the highlight of the trip, at least in the plans, and that was Montana. We didn't spend enough time there, I have to admit, and that's why we'll definitely go back one day. Hard to say when exactly, but definitely one day. Not next year, maybe 2027, maybe 2028, we'll see. The state of Montana is huge. We couldn't see all the places I knew from the Yellowstone series because it was simply impossible. We had just a couple of days and we still didn't see enough. And there's also Glacier National Park in the north of Montana, right on the border of Canada. Another place I would love to visit one day. So that's just another reason to visit Montana again. There is a high probability that if we go to Montana next time, we will also visit Washington, but not the city, but the state, Washington, the state, and hopefully Alaska. Let's hope so. The most surprising part of the trip for me personally was something different, something that we left as a cherry on top of this trip. We had been there before, back in 2018, but we were there, but we didn't see it because we saw literally nothing because it was so foggy. Visibility was basically zero visibility. You could see maybe 1.5 meters ahead, just a thick, milky fog. So we decided to go again this time. And the location I mean is the Grand Canyon. We went to the Grand Canyon to the north in 2018. We were surprised by the fog. So this time we decided to go to the south. The North Rim, by the way, was closed for the season after a huge fire that had destroyed everything just a few months earlier. Every single building, facility, all gone. So we went south and stayed in a hotel just 50 meters from the edge of the canyon. I mean, it sounds unreal, but it was more real than anything else. And waking up and walking out there in the morning felt unreal, not to mention the stargazing at night. Like, absolute hit. The next day, we started very early because we wanted to hike the Bright Angel Trail, which goes from the South Rim village down to the Colorado River. It's a long, steep trail, well, with quite a number of rest houses and water points along the way, all set up for hikers, but still extremely demanding. Going down feels fine, but going up is really brutal. I mean, it's also pretty deceptive because you don't realize how tough it will be, and then you just keep going down and down and down because you still feel strong enough, and then you have to return, and the climb up is definitely more strenuous. And that day it was 40 degrees, so extreme heat, like it was boiling hot. And Grand Canyon is basically a desert. I mean, not a forest. There is almost no shade, barely any trees or bushes to hide under, just rocks, dust, and heat. That's it. And we did make it to the river. And it was absolutely amazing. I mean, we walked down 14 kilometers to the river, and surprisingly, the river was colder than we actually thought. Maybe the view at the river wasn't jaw-dropping, honestly. We saw more beautiful views on the way down to the Colorado River. But it was definitely worth going down, especially that we could have a little swim in the river itself. Not too wild because the current of the river was very strong. It wasn't recommended swimming as such, but we could just, take a quick swim, cool down ourselves, and then continue walking, this time up, climbing up. That was actually very refreshing, by the way, swimming in that river, because the water was, again, freezing cold. The temperatures, as I mentioned, 40 degrees. So that actually helped us. So we were started going up, again, 14 kilometers. And the difference in height was 1,300 meters. So if you climb yourself, if you go to the mountains from time to time, if you have any idea about what I'm talking about, you know that 1,300 difference between the bottom and the top is a lot. Okay, it's maybe not like extreme, but it is pretty strenuous. Especially that on the way back, and on the way down as well, there were no flat surfaces. You were just climbing up and up and up. And the closer to the Grand Canyon Village, the top, I think the steeper it has become. But still all worth it. And I'm not sure whether it's because of the views. It felt like a hidden gem as well, because very few people made it to the river, simply because it requires a lot of strength, preparation, and everything. We were really well prepared, by the way, because we had all the clothes needed to protect ourselves from the sun and from the heat. We also had a lot of food, water, of course, although you could refill the bottles on the way. We also had electrolyte, salts, all kind of nutritional gels, to be sure and to make sure that we do have the strength to go up, because otherwise we would be in trouble. I think I was even at some point we felt that we were the only ones there, going down or going up the Grand Canyon, because there were so few people. And that's, I think, also making it very special and unique. And to witness the Grand Canyon from within, that was my highlight. I mean, I didn't see that coming, to be honest, because I thought, okay, the Grand Canyon is like the biggest tourist attraction in the United States as such. A lot of people have been there already. A lot of will still come. It's like a cherry on top, but I did appreciate the beauty before, but the experience of going down, being like inside the Grand Canyon, like down at the river, and then going up again, that was really an amazing experience. And it was like, at a certain point, the scorching heat meant sometimes pushing our limits because of the relentless sun. But we were definitely rewarded with many, many views on the way. I think that's it. That was my biggest highlight. Going down the Grand Canyon, not the Grand Canyon, not looking at it from the top, from the edge, from above, looking at it from the bottom, going through the Grand Canyon and reaching the river, the Colorado River that flows through the Grand Canyon. That was amazing. Something I truly, truly recommend. Although be prepared for a strenuous climb, both down and up. So that was my American adventure. Another one, because as I said, it wasn't our first time. I went there with my husband, so it wasn't our first time in the United States. We went there in 2018, the first time for a traditional American trip. We went there again, but to different locations 2 more times, and that was our 4th time, actually, and definitely not the last one. So Montana, the Monument Valley in the Indian Reserve in Arizona, the Zion Park, the Grand Canyon. These were absolutely gorgeous, even though I didn't pay much attention to the Yellowstone National Park, but it was still gorgeous. It's I think it just didn't impress me as much as I probably expected. Still wonderful, beautiful, breathtaking, enormous. It was really tremendous. But yeah, that's what it is. And I think this trip just again reminded me how small we are compared to nature. I mean, during this sunrise, during the solo adventures, during stargazing, during going down to the Colorado River and the Grand Canyon. And it just also reminded me of how good it feels to finally do things you once only dreamt about. It feels absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much for listening. I truly hope that you like this episode. Let me know if you've been to the United States, whether you also did all the mentioned tourist spots that I did as well. I would appreciate your comments, your shares, or following me on YouTube or Spotify, leaving a review if you liked my podcast. That would be very, very valuable. And until next time, speak to you soon. Ciao, ciao.